Aquarius, hello there, my beautiful friends. We're going to do your general tarot reading for mid to late January 2026. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I appreciate each and every single one of you. So let's get right down to business as always and start you off with an oracle card here, just so we can dip our toes into energy and see what's happening for the lovely Aquarius collective. I hope you're all doing fabulous and fantastic, my friends. Let's get it going here. Our guide spirit team, talk to me. What do we got for our beautiful Aquarius friends in mid to late January? We're moving on into Aquarius season. What energies, messages, insights can we take a little peek at? And yeah, we're just going to take a real quick look at this first card. Then we'll get into the full reading itself. And at the very end, I'll pull you a bonus card from the Shadowland Tarot just to see what might be in the shadows or what shadow work you can lean into, which is always interesting. But let's get it going here. Let's rock and see what we got for Aquarius in mid to late January. And while we get this card out, I want to wish you all a very happy birthday from me to you, especially if you're one of those Aquariuses that are right on this borderline of Capricorn Aquarius. I really hope you have a great one, my friends. But yeah, the card popped out pretty quick. All right, I like this normally, right? Because you know how cards could go sometimes. But yeah, we're going to have to talk about that. Lots of Libra symbolism all over the place here. Like you could literally see the sign. So when we see this, I think of a lot of those archetypes. Now, before we fully dive into that, if you're new here, I'll be speaking about the January subscriber surprise towards the end. So you might want to check that out. And also, if you could kindly illuminate that like button by tapping it right on its third eye, you know, I'd greatly appreciate it. But enough of the promo, back into the reading. Let's talk more in depth about this. So as you can see, we see this individual kind of balancing. It has like these two discs, little yin yang on the chest, kind of doing a little balancing act on one leg. And we have all that Libra symbolism happening. So I would say as far as tarot cards go, it reminds me a lot of the Two of Pentacles, where we have that person that's kind of juggling and they have the little infinity symbol, which normally is a beautiful energy of harmony and balance, yin yang, cause effect. So for a lot of you, maybe you're coming into a nice place of balance and understanding where it feels like you're hitting a good stride. For a lot of you, this could be a very, very good auspicious type of card, and it's very advantageous. And I just feel like it's really nice. Now, I will give you the drawback to this energy because I always like to say that sometimes in life, or most times in life, nothing is ever truly in a state of balance, right? You know, with all situations, it's always going up and down little by little. But when I get this energy, sometimes it can represent being overloaded or overwhelmed. So I think it's very important for a lot of Aquarians, and this time, especially moving into Aquarius season, that you don't overload yourself mentally, emotionally, physically. It's all about pacing. That's what this card tells me. So we're just going to let him chill and do whatever it is he's doing. Keep balancing there, my friend. Good luck. Let's get into tarot. And yeah, I always say that first card, it doesn't make or break the reading. It's just a little footnote. So let's get you 3 tarot cards in the upright. Then we'll get into that intuitive juiciness. Let's shuffle it up one time here for Aquarius. And while we get this deck shuffled up and ready to go, let's talk about last week's reading. So it was titled Big Action Incoming, and that energy felt like it was ready to rock. It was ready to pounce. So again, action comes in all different shapes and sizes, whether it's action from you or action from somebody else. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make something happen. It felt good to me. I mean, I guess it depends on what the action was, right? But that energy could bleed over for a couple weeks, so keep that in mind. Could be a little fiery, but let's see what shows up this week. As you know, energy is very fluid, never set in stone, so only take this how it hits for you, because we could be seeing your vibe or somebody else, right? Let's get it going. 3 cards for Aquarius. What is happening as we lead off Aquarius season? We move on into Aquarius. All right, King of Swords, that's one of your power cards right there. So that's a pretty good place to start, I think. Let's get a couple more. That could be good. Good. 8 of Wands. All right, yeah, lots of energy around communication already. There's that action. There's that holdover energy from last week. Let's get one more out here. What do we got for Aquarius, please? Thank you. Queen of Pentacles. Lots of people. Yeah, so I've been feeling this in the other air signs as well for some reason. It feels very people-y for some reason, which doesn't have to be a bad thing. But let's go through. I'll give you some of the classical meanings and archetypes. Then we'll get into that juicy, intuitive stuff. But at first glance, you know, I always like to look at the elements. It tells us how the energy is flowing or the areas of life that could be taking center stage. And you have a pretty good mixture this week. We got air, we got fire, we got earth, and that does all seem to balance each other out, especially with the air. That is your power element. And I always say, even though Aquarius is the water bearer, you're technically an air sign. So that's your power element, and that's a power card. And we'll get into that more. But when I think of air energy, I think of intelligence, I think of logic, I think of strategy and planning. It's a very pragmatic type of energy. It's honest, it's a shrewd type of energy, which isn't a bad thing. Um, the downside to air energy, sometimes it can overthink. Sometimes air energy could be a little cold or a little detached. So watch out for any stuff like that. And we'll circle back on that. In the center, we have fire. That's the realm of action, just like we saw last week. So whether it's the action we take, the actions other people take, actions we decide not to take, think of your motivation, your passion, your drive. That's your internal motor right there. The downside to the fire is the unpredictable nature of it, especially next to an air sign energy. This energy can combine to like supercharge the energy. But on the back end, we have a nice grounded vibe. We have the pentacles, and that's when I think of pentacles, I think of earth. I think of the material world we live in. So it could represent our feelings of security, our feelings of stability. It could represent money, business, finance, work, school, home, and family. So think of the material world we live in. So it's like we have all this powerful energy built up, but this one here on the back end seems to ground it down. Now, that could be good, but it could also be frustrating depending. And notice we got two core cards. Let's go through and start building this out piece by piece. Position number one, the King of Swords. Now, as mentioned, it's your power element. It's also one of your power cards. And remember, it's not gender specific. When it comes to kings of any suit, they represent control of their suit. So we kind of went in depth about the swords, the air, about the mind and the pragmatism. So when I see the King of Swords, it's like, all right, I'm keeping my mind on, I don't want to say on lock, but it's like I'm controlling my thoughts, I'm controlling my plans, I'm controlling my strategy. It's just very, very intelligent. That's one thing I always say about this King of Swords. Now, if you're connected to another air sign, maybe that's the air sign right there. But when I see the King of Swords, I think of strategy, planning, intelligence. Again, very honest and shrewd. Now, the downside to the King of Swords, sometimes it can be harsh. Sometimes this energy can be cold. Sometimes it could even be mean. So I'm not sure if there's something you're feeling a little angry about. This energy can get grumpy. So we do want to keep a close eye on it. But yeah, to me, like especially with the card that we have coming up next, it's like I have a plan and I'm going to put this plan into motion, kind of like what we saw last week. So we'll see. I mean, sometimes he does show up when there's something of a serious nature, and we'll keep an eye out for that as we move along. Now, moving to the middle, not only do we have a fire card, we have one of the fastest moving cards, Eight of Wands. And this one really strongly centers around communication back and forth. So I find it interesting that this is in the middle and we have the king here and the queen there. So it's like back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, which again doesn't have to be a bad thing. So this can really speak heavily on communication. It is an action card. It does talk about forward movement, forward momentum, results. So it's like there's a lot of chit chat, there's a lot of yapping going on in your reading this week, Aquarius. So we'll just have to see. I usually like this because to me it represents results. It can also represent distance and travel, so we do want to look into it further. But there is this uncontrollable nature to this, not just with the element, but with the card itself, where it could kind of just do its own thing, where it could say one thing and do the other. So we want to keep a very close eye on this, especially like with the king right next to it. Moving to the back end, we have the Queen of Pentacles. Nice. This is where we're getting a good grounded energy. Big Earth sign vibes. So Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. You might have placements there. Even if you don't, this is a good energy. Whenever I see the Queen of Pentacles, if it's on Earth sign, to me it reminds me of the Empress. So I think of blessings, I think of abundance, and she does also tie into wins, victories, and all that good stuff. She is internally secure in herself. She is internally secure in general, where it's like, all right, nothing can knock me off of my direction. Nothing can knock me off my path, which I think is a beautiful thing. Um, the downside, because remember, every card has a downside. Sometimes the Queen of Pentacles could be a little too inflexible. She could be a little too stubborn, and sometimes it could be an energy that feels smothered or stuck. So we want to keep a close eye on her. So yeah, there's a lot of chit chat. There's a lot of people. I would say watch out for any group dynamics or things where you have to deal with a lot of people because that could be important. Because this kind of feels a little gossipy already. We'll see when we clarify. But I want to dive deeper on all of it, Aquarius. Let's do it. Let's jump in and clarify. Okay. Let's get a good shuffle here for you, my friends. What do we got? for Aquarius, please. And yes, this is where I go intuitive with the message, which means I just tell you how it feels to me. So feel free to do further research or rely on your base knowledge of tarot, because as you know, every single reading is about the reader's interpretation. I'm just giving you mine. Let's go in on King of Swords. And yes, if you're a reader yourself, please feel free to play along. That's why the box is here. If you're feeling any messages you want to give to Aquarius, you can drop it in the comments. I don't mind at all. Okay, let's get that King of Swords going. Why is the King here? Thank you. My mind is set. My mind is made up. That's how this feels to me. Now, I will say this, King of Swords with the Ten of Pentacles, that is a very, very positive omen for you, Aquarius. That is like a huge, massive win or victory coming in, especially with that being one of your power cards. So even if you're cross-watching for an Aquarius, that's a good sign. That is a really good sign about how the energy is going to be a little more supportive. Now, this energy, I did say initially when it first popped out, it did feel pretty set in its ways, where it's like, nope, this is my decision. So aside from the win victory energy, for a lot of Aquariuses, you might have your mind made up, your mind set on something, and it's like, no, I will have this, or I will do this, or this is the way it will be. I am not going to comment whether that's a good or bad thing. That's up to you, depending on what your situation is. But this energy is very, very sure of itself. Now, if that's not you, it could be someone else. So those are the main two ways I see the energy splitting here on the front, and neither of them are technically a bad thing. I guess it depends on how set in its ways this energy can be. But the Ten of Pentacles is great. It can represent home and family and all that stuff too. But I think of wins, victories, expansion. So you already have beautiful, massive win-based energy here. But I also get someone like, no, this is it. My mind is made up. That is final. This is what's happening. So no comment on that. We're going to keep going. No judgment here. Let's see what the Eight of Wands has. And then, yeah, we'll talk as we move forward. And another thing I have to mention, Aquarius, Ten of Pentacles, it is also a group thing. So there's like a lot of people. I don't know why there's so much chit chat. Maybe because it's your birthday or your birthday's coming up. Maybe there's going to be a lot of people hitting you up. That's very possible for some of you. But it just feels very people-y to me. So why is the Eight of Wands, pardon me? Okay. All right, so this could be advice. I do get the energy of message and talking, but I also feel someone being very strategic and cautious about who they talk to and about what. Where it's like, okay, well, with Tommy, I'll speak with Tommy about this, but with Joan, I can't speak to Joan about that. But with Lisa, I'll talk to Lisa. But Tiffany, I can tell her about this. Like, to me, it's like I'm being very selective about who I'm talking to and what I'm saying to each person. So now for some of you, that could be the advice from Spirit, where it's like, all right, well, with so and so, talk to them about this. With so and so, talk to them about that. I just can't let it go that it just feels very gossipy to me. Now, I'm just going to put it out there. There's a lot of great energy here this week. Watch that you don't get pulled into the gossipy stuff. But it's like there's a lot of people talking. There's a lot of people talking. Could they be talking about you? Maybe. Could they be involving you in gossip? Sure. But yeah, like when I see the Eight of Wands with the Seven of Cups, it's like, be careful who you say things to. Be careful what you say to certain people. There's certain people you could trust completely. There's some people where you tell them and it's like right out their mouth to the next person the second you turn your head. So there's just a caution here about how you talk to certain people. Let's keep moving over to the Queen of Pentacles. That was very specific. Only take what hits for you, my friends. But let's go in on the Queen of Pentacles. So peculiar, because there's like great energy here for you, but I don't know what all this talking's about. Let's see what the Queen has. Okay. It's very reliable energy here. This could be someone that really has like your best interest or your back. So I don't feel like it's you against the world here, Aquarius. So we have the Ace of Wands in reverse underneath, and it's like this could be an individual. It's like when you trust them with something, it's like they will take it to the grave. I don't know why we're getting so in the weeds with stuff like this, but it does feel like someone that lips are zipped, keeping a secret here. Now, the only issue I see with this week's reading for Aquarius is you potentially getting brought into other people's stuff. Okay, doesn't mean you have to be, doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen, especially with the firm energies on the back end. But now there's like this energy, like here on the back, there's one energy that I trust completely, that when I tell them something, it's like they're putting it away in a vault. But then there's this other energy that I feel would twist what I say, where if I tell them something, they're going to manipulate what I say. You ever play that game in school, telephone, where like some person starts and they say a sentence to the next kid, and by the time it reaches the back end, it's a totally different message. That's how this feels to me, Aquarius. So I would just be very cautious with who and what you tell stuff to or what you say, because yes, there's certain individuals that are very trustworthy, but then there's also others that would like twist or manipulate what you say or leave things out of context. It's so odd and very specific. So the big focus is communication overall. You got great stuff too. Like if you just stay in your own lane and be about your business, I think you're fine. But let's go through and do a quick recap, then we'll get into the shadow. A lot of very particular things came up this week, so again, take whatever is yours. But if you look here in the box, position number one, we got the King of Swords with the Ten of Pentacles. First and foremost, for a lot of Aquariuses, that could be a massive winter victory of some kind, specifically in the work and money and family realm. This feels good. It feels solid, stable, sturdy. But there's just like people all over. That's what I feel in the energy. Um, it also felt like somebody making their mind up about something where it's like, nope, this is what I'm going to do. And that's it. That's that. This is the direction. So, like, it's settled. Like, someone is very stuck on something. Moving to the center, we have the Eight of Wands, Seven of Cups in reverse. First little caution here we have about telling people certain things where it's like there's some people you could talk to, there's some people you probably shouldn't talk to. We even see it here on the back end. There's like this very trustworthy energy, but then we see an energy that would twist your words. So just try not to get pulled into people's stuff, because there's a lot of gossipy energy here this week. Even if you're like in your own lane and you're just in hermit mode doing your own thing, there's still this potential for you to get pulled into someone else's stuff. On the back end, we have the Queen of Pentacles with the Ace of Wands in reverse. So again, we already spoke about it. The one very trustworthy, lip zipped, you know who that is. But for another portion of you, there's someone that would definitely twist the words. So just be careful, like what you say and who you say it to. Really, like it shows up here, especially with all the gossipy stuff. So please take a screenshot if you want to look into it further. Let's see what's in the shadows. All right, let's get a good shuffle here. What do we got for Aquarius, please? And yes, I always like to pull one of these at the very end just to see whether it's something within you or something you don't quite see. Shadow cards don't always have to be a challenge. It could be a good thing. So let's get you one. Oh, and yes, if you made it to this point in the reading, please feel free to check out channel memberships. I'll put a link for it in the comments below. It's a beautiful way to support the channel, and I have much love for all my channel members. All right, let's get one card out here. What do we got in the shadows for Aquarius as we lean on into their birthdays? And of course, why wouldn't it be? All right, so we have the Lovers in the shadows. Now, usually this is a very good card. It could connect to Gemini. Normally, I think of soul ties, soul connections, or any kind of partnership. That's I'm like, of course, because we have all these people and all this talking going on. Of course, we would get the Lovers in the shadows. Now, the good thing about this card is that it's very healing. It's a very angelic card. And again, that trustworthy individual does show up even in the shadows. But the downside of the Lovers, it could just represent a soul tie or soul connection where the energetic cord or connection still lingers with you. Even if this is someone that you can't talk to or are not speaking to, it's like we feel very similar things. We're trading energy even if we're not trying to. So again, watch. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about that. Sometimes when it happens, it happens. But I feel overall, especially in context of what we saw within the reading itself, uh, you know who's got your back, you know who doesn't. Watch what you say to people and watch out with anything interpersonal when this shows up in the shadows. So, Aquarius, that's what I have for you this week, my beautiful friends. Don't click away just yet, though. I'm going to give you the details. The January subscriber surprise. If you would like further insight on your situation, or if you'd like to see what 2026 has in store for you, you can book a personal reading with me at my website, mastermetaphysics.com. The January schedule's already up, so you could go check it out and see what's available. It's going quick, but for the January subscriber surprise, I'm giving away 3 copies of one of my favorite decks, the Everyday Witches Tarot. It's absolutely adorable and is great for readers of all skill levels. So if you'd like to get your name in for this, it's two simple things. As always, my friends, first, you must be subscribed. And second, let me know down in the comments from today's reading which card spoke to you the most. Even if the reading didn't quite hit, which card was giving you those warm and fuzzies or really caught your attention. You'll be entered to win, and at the end of the month, the winners will be announced in my community tab. As always, my friends, much love, and I'll see you soon.